So a few weeks ago, my buddy goes out with this girl, right? He meets her online and whatever, all right? So they go out, they have a few drinks. Well, they go back to her place and they start to get like sexy. Well, apparently he said that she was like super like rough, right? And she was into like being on top and stuff like that. Well, anyway, long story short, they're going at it like super hardcore, right? Well, he ends up slipping out of her and she slams down on him and he hears a pop. And instantly he was in excruciating pain and his big Al kind of like lost like his action, right? Well, anyway, he goes to the emergency room because he's like, yo, something is not right here. It started to get like discolored. Anyway, he ended up like literally breaking his wiener. All right, basically like, you know, those two like spongy like cavernous chambers? Well, apparently when she came down, she like broke it like sideways and it snapped one of those like chambers, right? And he had to actually have surgery to fix it. Apparently it's called like a penile fracture. Well, when he told me about this, I started to like actually like go down the rabbit hole and do some research. And apparently this is like not as uncommon as you would think. And the majority of people that actually have like the fracture, it's not from actually like going at it with somebody else. You're doing it to yourself. The majority of fractures happen from us just doing weird things to ourselves. Whether or not you're being too aggressive or trying to bend it or tone it down or do some type of weird yoga move. Any way you shake it, gentlemen, it's not good for Big Al. Today, I'm going over some things that we as men should never do to our wieners. Number one, don't be too aggressive, right? Whether or not it's with somebody or by yourself, you gotta understand that injuries can happen. If you ever experience a lot of pain or you hear a pop or an instant loss of like your Big Al being hard, right? You gotta go to the doctor because the majority of people that this happens to require surgery to actually fix it. Number two is sticking it in dirty places. And by dirty places, I mean dirty places. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can actually develop an infection from having unprotected anal action. So if you're somebody that's all like freaky with the booty, you gotta understand that you are running the risk, right? You can get urethritis, which is like an inflammation of like the urethra, not to mention some other not so good things. And if you stick it in the other place, right? STDs, yes, exactly, gentlemen. If you're having unprotected action, gentlemen, you are running a risk, all right? Few risks you're running. STDs, they happen, they are out there, they are prevalent. They are not going away because you guys are so damn promiscuous these days, all right? Also, pregnancy. And I'm not saying that it's not a beautiful thing if you get somebody pregnant, but if it's not somebody you want to get pregnant at the right time, it is not necessarily a beautiful thing. And if you get something like an STD, all right, some of them can go away through medication. Others, you're going to carry around like bad luggage for the rest of your life. And some, when left untreated, can actually cause a lot of damage, right? Including like infertility in men, right? Just because you don't notice it doesn't mean it's not there. And just because she's like, yo, I'm good, doesn't mean she's good. Which brings me to number three, don't not pee after the action, all right? So what research is actually showing is that if you urinate after you get action, right, it's actually going to lessen the chance of developing a lot of infections, right? Because bacteria gets like all up in there. And by you peeing, it's going to help to flush some of the bacteria, reducing the chance of you getting like a UTI or urinary tract infection, not to mention some of the other nasty bacterial things that we as dudes can get if we stick it in dirty places. Number four is don't have a dirty wiener, right? Clean it properly in the shower with warm water and soap. Gentlemen, here's the deal. If you're somebody that is uncut, and by uncut, I mean you actually have foreskin, you also need to really focus and pay attention to cleaning the inside of it because that's where a lot of bacteria and stuff actually develops and hangs out. Number five is don't use inappropriate lubrication when you decide to handle your business. And what I mean by that is hand lotion like Jergens and stuff, bad. Why is it bad? Parabens, aka endocrine disrupting chemicals that are terrible for you when you're a young dude, right? You just are like, yo, mom's not looking, boop, 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 right? And you go and do your thing. As you age, as you mature, you need to upgrade the lube that you're actually using, all right? Also, don't use shampoo in the shower. And the reason is because it burns. Conditioner. Conditioner is a better option. I'm just saying, hey, whatever. Alpha was young once, all right? The next thing you should never do is be embarrassed of your wiener, aka don't compare your junk to other dudes. Whether or not you're watching movies and you're like, oh my God, he's so big and I'm so not. Or worse yet, don't ask your partner, hey, am I bigger than your ex-boyfriend or was he big? Like, you don't want to know the answer. And the truth is, if you are somebody that is insecure, there are things you can do. I was insecure until I found the Bathmate, which is today's video sponsor, and I would like to plug because they're awesome and they made my Big Al get big. Anyway, real quick, before I get and talk about that, let's talk about some of the other options that I really want you to avoid. In my opinion, a lot of these surgery and the surgical options that are out there, after all the research that I have done, right, because I literally have done like 6,000 videos about how to make your wiener bigger, right? Most people are not happy or satisfied with the results. The other downside is that you run the risk of injury, right? All right, one of the worst ones is the lengthening surgery. Basically, you've got like a ligament that basically is called the suspensory ligament that they come in and they cut, right? And it basically makes you look bigger. You're not actually gaining length, you just look longer. And the big problem with this is that you never like point hard north again. You're always kind of like semi-action. And when you're not pointing up, right, you actually are running the risk of some type of injury happening through some type of action like my buddy had, all right? Some of the other surgeries, I've seen horror stories and read horror stories about what actually happens. But the one that I can tell you actually works 100% is the Bathmate. This thing has changed my life. And I say that jokingly, but it's the truth because I've always been somebody that was insecure about my size. And the truth is that I wasn't like super like little. I was about like 6 inches, but I wasn't like super thick. And I always was insecure. Every time I get with somebody new, I'd always wonder, you know, even though they say, oh, it was fine and you're good and whatever, I always was insecure about it. And so I did enough videos talking about like foods you can eat and different things that I decided to actually see what these things were all about. And so I went online and all of the research that I did basically led me back to this. It's the Bathmate. It's a hydro pump. The way that it works, you take it in the shower, you fill it up, you put it on, your Big Al, you pump it up, right? It's going to basically draw more blood into your wiener, all right? And what happens is, if you guys know anything about the anatomy, right, you've got these two spongy chambers, right, which fill with blood. And the more blood that goes in there, right, the bigger and thicker and harder you actually get. Well, the whole premise behind these things is that when you pump it up, right, you basically do like sets and reps. You do like 3 sets, like wear it for like 5 minutes, but you've got to work up to it. Anyway, I've done a bunch of videos. I'm going to link to all of them down below. Basically, the first 3 that I did, the first 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days, I go over my experience and really how to use this thing effectively. I want you to go start with my 30-day, then go 60 and 90, all right? I want you to watch those because I'm going to go into a lot more detail specifically about these pumps and how they work and why I love it, not to mention like my measurements and how that actually unfolded. Anyway, you've got these 2 chambers, right? And the more blood that goes in there, right, the bigger you are. The thicker you are, you're going to gain a little bit of length, but thickness was really the biggest difference. I went from like this to like this. I'm like a thick dude now, right? Anyway, by using this and wearing it, you're pulling extra blood into those chambers, which is engorging them, stretching them out. By doing this repeatedly over time, you basically will make your junk bigger, allowing more blood to flow. You're going to be thicker, you're going to be harder, you're going to last longer. Amazing. It's literally amazing. Every aspect of my sex life got better. It got more exciting. Long story short, guys, they've got 3 different models. This is the Hydro Extreme. This is the one that I would recommend. I tried all 3. They've got the Hydro and the Hydro Max. They're good, but nothing is as good as this. I've tried all of them. This is the one you want. Anyway, guys, you got to be careful, though, because once again, it's not a toy, which brings me to the next thing you should never do to your wiener, and that is abuse these tools, all right? Because they are tools. It is a slow game. It's not like instant. You're not going to just like wear it or use it once and then be like big, right? It's something that you do over time. And over time, by doing it and using it responsibly, you will get bigger and thicker 100%. Gentlemen, if you want to check these out, I'm going to link to my special link down below. Go and grab one. They've got a money-back guarantee, so if you're not satisfied, you can get your money back. It truly is an amazing product, an amazing company. I'm also, like I said, going to link down below to the first 3 videos that I do, going over my 30, 60, and 90-day usage results and experience using the Bathmate. Gentlemen, if you are somebody that wants a bigger wiener, this will do it 100%. The next thing that you should never do to your Big Al is take those boner pills or any type of like enlargement like supplement. Like in terms of like supplements that I've talked about, the natural ones like L-arginine, right, L-citrulline, Yohimbe, things like that, you're good. But going to a gas station being like, yeah, that looks like a good idea. No, that's a bad idea. Don't do it. The next thing you should never do to Big Al is show him off in public. All right, what I mean by that is you know exactly what I mean. All right, don't go doing weird things in public. You'll get arrested. This includes, honestly, peeing, right? You never know when somebody's gonna be like, oh my God, he just exposed himself. Guys, you gotta be careful. Don't expose yourself in public, all right? Something else you shouldn't do is take a selfie, and show them, right? You don't wanna, exactly, be like, yo girl, right? No, yo girl, don't do that. One of the worst things that you young dudes are doing is starting to do like dick pics, right? Send them to people. Not only is this bad because her Aunt Brenda could be like, what is Brenda, little Susie? Ah, my God, right? You get that. Or worse yet, it gets shared, it gets showed, right? And the even crazier thing is some of you fools are actually taking the pic with your face in it. Gentlemen, a wiener's one thing, a face, a whole nother story. Hot tubs, don't do it. Don't do it too much. Once in a while, you're fine, but hot baths and soaking in hot temperatures is terrible for your body, more specifically your testicles, right? If you're somebody that is trying to someday have kids or want sperm that is like super strong and jacked and sexy, you can't be hanging out in hot tubs. It's bad. Not to mention, hot tubs are gross. Riding a bike all the time, right? On those little tiny seats that press on that thing underneath like your taint. Yeah, exactly. Bad. Gentlemen, the deal is, a lot of these seats that they have, if you're like somebody that's like riding a bike, like road bikes, right? They're super thin. Well, they put a tremendous amount of pressure on the underside of your junk, right? Causing potential impotence or some ED action to happen. One of the reasons why, if you look at bike seats nowadays, you'll see that it's a little bit like carved out or even hollow in the center, is to protect men from this situation, right? But the reality is this: if you are somebody that is going to be taking a spin class a lot, or you're just riding a bike often or mountain biking or whatever, you got to make sure that the seat that you're on is ergonomically suited for your taint. Which brings me to the next thing you should never do to your wiener, and that is ignore him, right? If something's going on, right, as in like you can't like get him to be like that, or he hurts, or when you pee it burns, or like something else is going on, or he looks a little bit funky, or he's got like scabs, or like bruising, or anything weird. Gentlemen, here's the deal. If your wiener isn't healthy, you got to go to the doctor. You got to figure it out, because you don't want to lose the capacity to use him, which is the next thing you should never do, and that is not use him. All right, a lot of research and data has come out to show that if you are not doing your thing or making him get hard regularly, you are going to lose function, right? You're also not going to be as big and strong and sexy and ready for the action as you could be if you would use him regularly, right? And by regularly, I mean you should be using him on a regular basis. 21 times a month. Research has basically come in to show that if you are somebody that is releasing the hounds 21 times a month, whether or not it's solo or with a partner, this is actually the best case scenario for your prostate health, not to mention the health of everything down there. Because think of it like your bicep, right? If you never go to the gym and do bicep curls, your bicep's going to atrophy and get small. When you go, right, and you start lifting again, you're going to be like, I'm so weak and like a little puss, right? Same thing happens to your wiener. If you're not regularly filling him with blood, getting him strong, getting him hard, and using him, he gets all weak and like a little puss, and it's not strong like bull. Tight underwear and tight pants. Here's the deal. All right, you got to make sure you allow your big Al to breathe. You need to make sure that he's not packed in your pants, because once again, this packing of meat in your pants is increasing the heat. The hotter it is, the better it is. It's better. It's better to have balls that are too hot, because this is actually going to kill your sperm. It also is going to increase the muskiness of your nuts, which is the last thing you should never do to your dick, and that is let him be stinky. Gentlemen, you got to make sure you powder, and powder regularly.